morning, everyone. Welcome to Blacklogic. So, a model Chinese patriot has emerged as a central figure in an espionage controversy between China and the United States. Arrested by Beijing on charges of subversion or espionage, the individual was unmasked as an FBI informant during a period of growing tensions between the two global superpowers. His return to the U.S. last month as part of a high-profile prisoner swap has sparked intention debates about whether this incident marks a step towards diplomacy reconciliation or merely the latest move in a long-running game of international espionage. A lot of observers are split on the implications. Some suggest that this exchange could symbolize a thaw in relations amidst a Cold War-like atmosphere, while others view it as a precursor to intensify intelligent battles. So as we look at this story unfold, China and America has always been at war with each other, but not in the conventional way that we know of. We've had a lot of Chinese spies that's been found in America, and supposedly China has found an FBI informant, who is Chinese, by the way. They're stating that he's an FBI informant, that this has to deal with some sort of espionage, so essentially he's a spy. By the way of the FBI, allegedly by the Chinese government. But they did do a prisoner swap, and that has not been verified from what I can be reading. Again, these are just allegations that the Chinese government has spoke out against, stating that this particular person, after intense interrogations, torture and everything like that, that this is the information that was essentially revealed. So more to come with that as well. A controversial proposal to have schools collect immigrant status data is creating waves across the U.S. Proponents argue that this measure could bolster border security by encouraging illegal families to self-deport. Critics, however, warn of potential discrimination and the erosion of trust within immigrant communities. Under the policy, families may face a difficult choice: disclose sensitive information or face increased vulnerability to deportation actions. Advocacy groups are rallying against the move, citing fears of racial profiling and educational inequalities as this report intensifies. The nation grapples with border implications for its immigration policies and community cohesion. Now, what they're kind of stating here with this particular story is that they want information about quote unquote potential illegal immigrant students. And then the story also goes on to state that this could be somewhat of racial profiling. Well, not all illegal immigrants are Hispanic. Not all illegal immigrants are from Central America. There are illegal immigrants from Haiti, which are my complexion and may favor me some. There are illegal immigrants from China. There's illegal immigrants from India. There are illegal immigrants from all over the world, as well as Africa, that's inside of America by the way of the southern border. So again, when you state that racial profiling, there are some tall tale signs that people are not from this country. When they don't speak English as well, like I don't speak it that well myself, but nonetheless, I don't have a foreign accent. That's one indicator. That's a very, very minute, indication. When they don't know certain American history. I can go on, but there has to be a very large scale investigation with mass deportation, because we have naturalized citizens, we have people who've taken the oath, we have people who become citizens who still have strong accents that may or may not know American history. A lot of Americans don't know American history, but as you peel back the onion, the more information you know, or the more information that you know that these people are illegal immigrants. And again, they come in all shapes, sizes, and races and demographics, because again, there are some Hispanic folk that look white. So again, if they change their name to John Smith and they don't speak with an accent, could they fit in? Could they get away with quote unquote staying in America? So again, this is going to be a larger problem than what a lot of Americans think, that, oh, he's just going to go out the illegal immigrants. We have some sort of record. There's some sort of diary. There's some sort of log or record of these people. No. Unfortunately, the Democrats have done a toll on this country and the whole catch and release party, and some they just let release, meaning that they saw them come across the border, and because they was already dealing with a large group, they couldn't account for maybe 10, 20, 30 of them when they have a group of 2,000. With literally the limited amount of resources that CPP have on the border, CBP patrol. So the Customs Border and Patrol, they have a task on their hands, as well as federal troops when it comes to National Guard, even though they're on the state level. But if he initiates federal troops, it's going to get really hairy. And I think a lot of American people may speak out against that because, again, we're still dealing with people. And other than the violent criminals that came across the border, we're dealing with people with the simple, fraction of the law of trespassing. Again, if you trespass on someone's land in certain parts of the U.S., you could probably get shot, unfortunately. But trespassing knowingly and not committing other crimes, because that is a crime, or violent crimes, again, we're dealing with human beings and it should be done the right way. That's my 2 cents on that. But again, I'm not for illegal immigration at all. And something definitely needs to be done about it. Under public scrutiny for ethics violation and corruption charges, Justice Samuel Alito and Senator Bob Melendez have employed a controversial defense, blaming their wives. Look at Adam. From questions about financial entanglements to alleged misconduct, both have shifted focus onto their spouses' involvement, igniting widespread debate about accountability. Critics argue that the tactics undermines personal responsibility and perpetuates a harmful narrative. Others suggest that the truth may lie in shared decision-making within high-profile marriages. As these cases unfold, they highlight the intersection of public life, personal relationships, and ethical standards. And the reason why I brought up Adam, because don't forget when the serpent convinced Eve to eat of the fruit, that the tree of life, if I can recall correctly, Adam knew that the fruit was from the tree. Because again, if you've in the Garden of Eden and you have all these trees and bushes and fruits and this, that, and the other, and she hands you a fruit that you've never seen before, that you saw on a tree of life that God put and said, do not touch this tree. Didn't he have foreknowledge of this? Why didn't he ask questions like, hey, where do you get this fruit from? So again, that's the analogy that I was making when I said, look at Adam blaming their wives. You can't blame your wives for everything, gentlemen. You can't blame your wives for everything. You can blame for a lot, but you can't blame for everything, okay? Exile. You have the Uyghur refugees remain targets of Beijing's influence through a combination of diplomatic pressure and covert surveillance. China continues to exert control over individuals fleeing alleged human rights abuses in Wenghua. This chilling reality serves as a stark reminder of China's expansive reach. Human rights organizations warn that these tactics undermine international asylum protections and contribute to a growing climate of fear among the Uyghur communities worldwide. The international community faces mounting pressure to respond decisively to these violations. Now, of course, this is getting light, but I don't think the issues that we have with China internationally are getting the recognition that it deserves. And that's mostly in the African continent, because we understand that they're not doing the same things that the white colonizers from Europe and America has done to Africa. We're looking at China as economic colonizers, where they come in and they make these blood loans where they know that the African countries are corrupt to a certain degree and they won't be able to pay these loans back. So they start taking control of resources. They start putting ports in national defense organizations and companies with inside African countries. They have their own security details with inside African countries. Instead of employing the Africans to secure the port, to secure some of the mining facilities, they brought in their own people. And slowly but surely, you're going to start looking at a lot of Africans that are Chinese and a lot of Chinese that are Africans. I know that you guys will understand that. If you won't, and if you don't, you'll get it on the way home. In a significant escalation, Israel launched airstrikes against Yemen in retaliation for missile attacks by the Iranian-backed Houthi militia. This marked Israel's first direct involvement in the Yemen conflict and has raised questions about regional alliances and the broader implications of Middle Eastern geopolitics. Analysts predict that this bold move could lead to increased tensions between Israel and Iran and their respective allies as the conflict involves the potential for broader destabilization in the region looms large. And again, I've been covering this for about 2 weeks, that Israel is almost in a quadruple face war. They're almost in a quadruple face war because you're talking about Lebanon, Yemen, Palestine, and they're in Syria. So there you go. 4 states in the Middle East that Israel is essentially fighting against. But I don't want to say they're fighting against their government. They're fighting against their well-known terrorist groups that operate outside of their countries. But again, we know the stock toll of the amount of death that, unfortunately, through the conflict between Israel and Hamas, that the Palestinian people are being affected. Over 40,000 people have perished because of this war. And again, there's still no peace in the Middle East, unfortunately. Finland has seized an oil tanker suspected of being part of Russia's clandestine shadow fleet. The vessel is accused of sabotaging an undersea electrical cable in a move Finnish authorities claim underscores Moscow's covert operations in Europe. This incident marks a significant escalation in the West's efforts to counter Russian influence. As investigations continue, the seizure highlights the increasing focus on maritime security and the geopolitical chess game unfolding in the region. So the Finns, they're saying that there's a Russian shadow fleet that somehow cut this, very important cable. I forgot essentially what the cable is about, so please forgive me on that. But it was an undersea cable that was used for mechanisms to, how we have a lot of things that go on in the ocean. If you guys ever been to France or let alone London, they have the Waterloo Channel. They have this train that goes through the English Channel into France. And believe it or not, it's going through the ocean. It's going through the water. So again, there's a lot of things that we've buried in the ocean. There's a lot of things that run across the ocean floor. So again, the Finns believe that the Russians had done this intentionally, okay? Intentionally. And they've deployed a lot of their naval ships out there. So good old Joe Biden. The bald eagle, long a symbol of American freedom, has now been officially recognized as the U.S. national bird. For a very long time, didn't everybody think that this was already official? Like the bald eagle was a federal protected bird, and this was the symbolize of America and the freedoms that we have in America. But no, it was just federally protected, but it was never recognized as, United States of America's bird. Or again, I didn't know this. This is all new to me. We always upheld this eagle here. Did you know that all birds are scavengers? Yeah. And if you ever seen a bald eagle close up, these things are extremely large, extremely aggressive, and they don't play games, but they're protected. And I'm not saying they shouldn't be. Again, they look, their look looks bold, and it's a very, standoutish bird that, again, represents America and its freedom. But again, I know a lot of Americans are like, I thought this was been done, but good old Joe Biden, he's still doing things as president until his last day. Brianna Avlivlo, a pizza delivery driver, has been charged with attempted murder after alleging stabbing a pregnant mother 14 times over a $2 tip dispute. The shocking incident, which occurred in front of the victim's 5-year-old child, has left the community grappling with senseless of such violence. And if you go and read this story, this young lady here, who is the assailant, stabbed this lady 14 times. Now, initially, when paying for the pizza, that was $30. The young lady who was giving her the money to purchase the pizza gave her a $50 bill. And she was like, hey, I need change from that. She's like, well, I just want a large tip. I want a good tip. Again, forcing the tip because you deliver pizza. So supposedly, the purchaser of the pizza took the $50 back and then gave her smaller bills, which only ended up giving her a $2 tip. Let's make sure we get the details correctly. Let's make sure we get the detail correctly. And I'll blow this up for your viewing pleasure. It states here that investigators say that when Azari tried to pay for the pizza with a $50 bill and asked for change, Avivlo told her that they don't provide change. Azari told investigators she looked for smaller bills, and Avivlo rolled her eyes and walked away without saying anything after receiving a $2 tip. Azari told investigators that a man and a woman dressed in black knocked loudly on the motel room door later that night and forced their way in when she opened the door. She said the man armed with a handgun forced her boyfriend onto the bathroom. Azari said the women believed to be of Livlo searched her purse and broke her daughter's Nintendo Switch. She said that when she tried to shield her daughter and pick up her phone, the women smashed her phone and stabbed her multiple times with a pocket knife. At that point, Azari said the armed man yelled that it was time to go and the attack ended. Authorities said Azari was hospitalized with stab wounds to her chest, arms, and legs, and abdominal, and had surgery for a ruptured lung. At the hospital, Azari learned that she was a few weeks pregnant. Wow. That's a crazy story when even though she gave someone a tip, the person who being tipped didn't think it was sufficient enough. Then she brings back a guy with a gun, hold her and her boyfriend at gunpoint, ravage through their things, looking for more money. So being robbed, okay, armed robbery, and then try to kill her. Stabbed her 14 times. What if, and again, she found out that she was pregnant, a few weeks pregnant, and thank God that she wasn't pregnant enough where it harmed the baby. And I know everyone's going to ask this question. Is she an illegal immigrant? I don't know. I don't have that information year to date. As the U.S. tightens immigration policies, that's a good lead in. Mexico is preparing for an anticipated surge of deportees by opening 25 shelters nationwide. Lord, look at Mexico. This proactive measure has drawn mixed reaction, with some praising the foresight while others criticize it as inadequate for the expected influx. Experts warn that this move may only scratch the surface of the logistical and humanitarian challenges posed by mass deportations. The situation highlights the interconnected nature of U.S. immigration policies and their impact on neighboring countries. So all of a sudden, and Tom Homan was speaking about this, all of a sudden, Mexico has built or is building 25 shelters for the influx of illegal immigrants that America is so happily giving back to Mexico. And Tom Homan said that 25 shelters is not nearly enough. It's not nearly enough. Now, we don't know how big these shelters are or how big these shelters are going to be, but believe me, when you're talking about 13 million people, even if we get half of them, even if we deport half of them, even if we deport 7.5 million or 6.5 million rather, those shelters are not going to be enough. And again, what is Mexico going to do with millions of illegal immigrants from America? Now, some of them are Mexican, but a lot of them are from Venezuela, Honduras, Dominican Republic, Haiti, China, India, Africa, some from the Caribbean. They're from all over the world. They're from all over the world. They even have white immigrants. That's what now has been reported. There's been white illegal immigrants inside of America as well. And I may cover that on tonight's broadcast if you guys tune in. And if you guys are new to Blacklogic, please hit that subscribe button. But nonetheless, I wonder how Mexico is going to handle this. But again, here's my speculation. I believe that America is going to give Mexico a substantial amount of money to help them build these shelters and somehow transport all of these illegal immigrants, not just to Mexico, but to their respective countries. I believe America is going to fit some of the bill, not all of the bill. And that really has not been talked about. The only thing I've heard, and of course, Donald Trump said this during his first presidency, that we're going to build a wall and Mexico is going to pay for it. Well, Mexico didn't pay for it, but he did increase the amount of taxes. So it's kind of a balancing act here. But when it comes to the transportation, housing, deportation, and sending and shipping these people to their respective countries, I just believe that America is going to fit some of that bill altogether. Nonetheless, I thank you guys for joining me here this morning. You guys have a great and wonderful day. See you this evening. This is Blacklogic.